They said humans were new to the stars, that we were children among the cosmos, that we looked up but never truly understood what we were seeing. In the Galactic Academy, where hundreds of worlds sent their brightest minds, the humans sat quietly listening, learning, absorbing. To the other species, we were quaint, primitive, a civilization that barely escaped its own gravity well. They taught us politely, but beneath their courtesy was amusement. They had mapped the galaxy long before humans had even learned to fly. So when the lesson turned to stellar cartography, no one expected much from the lone human in the room. The professor, a tall, silver-scaled scholar from the Orion Reach, projected a grand star map, a shimmering network of suns, nebulae, and gravitational corridors. He spoke with pride. Behold, the most accurate map of this spiral arm, charted over 3 millennia of galactic observation. The alien students murmured admiration. The human watched silently, eyes reflecting the swirl of stars. And then he frowned. The professor noticed something wrong, Terran. The human hesitated, polite as ever. Permission to speak, Professor. A ripple of laughter passed through the class. Permission. No one asked in this academy. They simply corrected each other. But the professor, amused, gestured for him to continue. The human stood, walked to the display, and pointed to a small cluster near the edge of the spiral arm. These stars, he said softly, you've marked them as fixed, but they're not. The room went silent. A dozen alien eyes blinked, some in confusion, others in disbelief. The professor tilted his head. Our data is verified across thousands of cycles, he replied. Human, your species has only watched the skies for a few millennia. What could you possibly know that we do not? The human didn't argue. He connected his wrist device to the map and overlaid the data from old Earth's deep sky observatories. Stars shimmered, shifted, realigned. Tiny drifts, subtle arcs, imperceptible to most eyes, but unmistakable to those who had watched the heavens for generations. For a moment, no one breathed. The overlay matched perfectly, and the alien coordinates were wrong. Not by much, but enough to mean everything. The professor's voice trembled. How could your people see this? These shifts take thousands of years to track. The human smiled softly. We've been watching our sky for as long as we could see it. Long before our machines, before our spaceflight, our ancestors looked up, night after night, and noticed when even a single star had moved. Silence filled the hall. The projection glowed brighter, now labeled. A simple note, but history would remember it as the day. The galaxy realized that humans weren't just explorers of space. We were students of time. We didn't just travel to the stars. We had already known them. Their births, their deaths, their slow, graceful dance across the sky. They laughed when he walked in, not cruelly, but with that quiet superiority that only the long-lived can afford. Humans, they said, were new, barely a few centuries into the stars. Curious, eager, maybe even clever, but not yet galactic. They spoke of us like a younger sibling tagging along on a field trip through eternity. The Galactic Academy was ancient, older than any single world in the Terran Confederation. Its halls had seen empires rise, species ascend, and civilizations vanish into myth. And now, for the first time, it had human students. He sat near the back, quiet, observant. His name didn't matter to history, only what he did. When others spoke, he listened. When they mocked, he smiled. And when they underestimated him, he remembered. Because humans have learned something. In the long, dark centuries before the stars, that patience outlasts pride. That day, the lesson was galactic cartography, the mapping of the heavens. The alien professor floated before a massive projection, a star map so vast it filled the ceiling, the walls, even the floor beneath their feet. It glittered with billions of data points, every light a world known and named. And when the professor spoke, his tone carried reverence. Each coordinate, he said, charted through millennia of observation. This is the greatest single achievement of our civilization. The precise map of our galaxy. The class murmured in awe. All except the human. He frowned. The professor noticed. Is something unclear? The human hesitated, then raised a hand. Permission to speak? Laughter again, soft, harmless, dismissive. But the professor, curious, nodded. The human stepped forward, his boots echoing softly against the polished metal floor. He pointed to a small cluster of stars on the outer spiral arm. These are marked incorrectly. A pause. Then disbelief rippled through the room. The professor blinked. I beg your pardon. The human spoke evenly. Their drift velocities are wrong. You've marked them as stationary, but they're moving subtly but consistently. The alien's crest flared in irritation. Our instruments are precise beyond your comprehension. Your species has had interstellar observation for what, 3 centuries? Yes, the human said calmly. And about 5,000 years of careful stargazing before that. He connected his wrist device. The hologram flickered, and a new layer of data appeared. Earth's data. Old Earth. Some of its centuries outdated by galactic standards. But when overlaid upon the map, the stars shifted. Not by much, but enough to matter. Enough to reveal that the Terran data was more accurate. One alien whispered, "That can't be right." Another murmured, "They must have copied from an earlier scan." The professor zoomed in, cross-checked, recalibrated. And then, silence. The human was right. The Terran star map corrected the galactic chart in multiple sectors. The correction spread faster than anyone expected. Within hours, the update propagated through the galactic network. The Terran annotation appeared on millions of star charts, revised by human observation, verified. At first, the academies of other worlds scoffed. An error, they said, a statistical anomaly. But when they checked, they found more. More corrections, more patterns, more signs that the humans had not merely looked at the stars, but understood them. Soon, other professors began reviewing human astronomical archives, the records of telescopes older than their civilizations, the careful logs of pulsars, variable stars, comets. And then came the moment that changed everything. An Arcanian astrophysicist called a meeting with the Terran student. She was older than any human alive, her people known for their precision in stellar prediction. When he arrived, she didn't speak at first. She simply pointed at a holographic feed. A dying star, a supergiant nearing collapse. You see this one? She said. Our models predict its death in 20 cycles, but your archives say it already exploded 300 years ago. The human nodded slowly. It did. We saw it from Earth. The light just reached us then. The alien frowned, confused. The light just reached you? And in that instant, she understood. Light takes time to travel. To the aliens, that was simple physics. But to humans, it was history written in starlight. When humans looked at the sky, they didn't see the present. They saw the past. 1 billion years of it. Every twinkle, every faint glow was a story told by the universe across the gulf of time. Humans had spent centuries learning to read those stories. The professor sat down, stunned. You study the universe as it was. The human smiled gently. That's the only way to know what it is. For the first time in galactic memory, the Arcanian physicist stood to honor another species. She bowed. Then it seems, young human, that while we were mapping space, you were mapping time. After that, everything changed. The Academy's perception of humanity shifted. From curiosity to reverence. Where they once mocked our simplicity, they now sought our perspective. Because humans had patience. Where others measured progress in centuries, we measured it in generations of watchers. Those who gazed up at the night sky and whispered names for lights that no longer existed. We studied ghosts, and from them, We learned the truth of the living universe in time. A new hall was built at the Galactic Academy. Not vast, not grand, but quiet, circular, open to the night sky. At its center stood an ancient object, a human telescope. Metal, glass, worn by centuries, brought from the planet called Earth. Inscribed at its base were simple words for those who watched. Long before they could go, they had corrected the maps. They had measured the time. And now, for the first time in the long history of the Galactic Academy, the professors invited a human to lecture. Not a guest, not a novelty, but a teacher. The announcement rippled through 1,000 worlds. A species barely a few centuries old in spaceflight was being asked to explain the heavens to those who had crossed them for millennia. The hall filled with every shape of mind the galaxy could offer. Crystal intelligences from Arcturon, the luminous minds of the Veil, and a handful of curious humans in their simple blue robes. The chosen lecturer walked to the center podium. No rank, no medals, just the quiet confidence of one who had seen things. He touched the control, and the lights dimmed. Above them bloomed the universe, a living sphere of light, every star a memory. He began to speak. "We call this the sky," he said softly. "You call it the galactic plane, the stellar network, the catalog. To us, it has always been a conversation." He gestured, and constellations formed. Orion, Cassiopeia, Ursa Major. Ancient human lines drawn from imagination. "These patterns are not science," he said. "They are stories, and stories are how we learned to remember." The aliens leaned closer. For them, the stars were coordinates. For the human, they were companions. He continued, "When we first measured light, we thought we were learning physics. But what we were really learning was patience. Light travels slowly. It brings us the past. So to know the universe, we had to learn to wait for truth." He looked up at the spiraling arms. "Your kind sees distance," he said. "Ours sees time. And if you study time long enough, you begin to feel what the stars are telling you." He brought up the record of a variable star, one that pulsed like a heartbeat. "This one," he said, "we named after a human myth, a singer who lost her voice. Every 6 days she fades and returns. It's not just physics, it's rhythm. The universe sings if you know how to listen." The crowd was utterly silent. Even the telepathic species forgot to whisper. The human changed the projection again. Waves of light folding into patterns. Gravitational ripples echoing across galaxies. "These are not random," he said. "They're memories of creation." Then he did something no alien scientist had ever done. He took out an ancient human object, a notebook bound in worn leather. "This," he said, "belonged to an astronomer from Earth. Thousands of years before your academy existed." He could not leave his planet, but he calculated the motion of worlds with nothing but thought. He opened it, showing hand-drawn circles and numbers. When he made these, our world still believed the stars were gods. He showed us they were places. He smiled faintly. And still, somehow,